Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crafting Your Legacy, Preserving Your Cherished Stories. The reason I have become a ghostwriter to help you write your stories for your legacy really has a lot to do with the background in my life, part of which is family inspiration. Many years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago now, I witnessed my mother and my mother-in-law, that's a picture of Esther, transition to senior communities. And that really sparked the idea to help people there record their cherished life stories. I saw the loneliness and the desire to connect, and I thought it would be a really nice service for me to talk to people who maybe didn't get that many visitors and help them write a legacy story, of course, for their family and friends. Like I said, I noticed in the senior centers a desire to connect. Every time I was waiting for my mother and my mother-in-law, people would chat and they'd love to tell me their life stories. And so once again, that gave me the idea, the seed of the idea that maybe I could write books for seniors in that community. Another inspiration was my great-grandfather. I have a treasured memoir written by my great-grandfather, Marcus Harris, and he wrote it in the 1940s, I think, when he was 70, just about to retire, and he wanted to pass something on to people, probably mostly men at that time, coming up in the business, and it was sprinkled with heartwarming family stories, and I have treasured that book. And it made me consider that even though he probably by now has hundreds of great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, if I'm the only one that picked it up and was really impacted by it, and I in turn am impacting other people by helping them write their legacy stories, that too is part of his legacy. I've learned so much from that book about being an entrepreneur and family values as you build a business. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about myself and what I'm doing within the Our Legacy series. I'm going to tell you why I think the Our Legacy platform is wonderful for you, because I myself use it. I just finished my first book that I'm very excited to tell people about. It's called Carol's Playlist, and we'll talk more about it. But I find this platform so user-friendly and so easy to tell your story that I'm very excited to be a ghostwriter, and I'm also excited to be a client. So a little bit about myself. I am a seasoned writer. I've always considered myself a writer since I've been very young. I'm a real estate professional, and I spent many years in corporations as a project manager. So I bring all those skills forward now to my final career as a ghostwriter, helping people tell legacy stories. I honed my storytelling skills, client collaboration skills, and my passion for writing all comes together. And then adding that, having one of the avenues I take with clients is the Our Legacy book series. Now, as you consider your memoir, there's multiple approaches you can take. I'm going to go through them, but it isn't like you have to choose one and say, oh, let's follow this. It's just really ideas to kind of spark in you the stories that maybe you can tell. And I have them listed here, and we're going to go through them one by one. So there's the already started story approach, and that is, people come to me a lot, and they have stories they want to tell, and they've written a chapter, or they have some ideas, or they have some content that they've already started, and that is great. Part of what I do as a ghostwriter is help people formulate an outline and a purpose for writing the book and an audience. But if you have content already, that's the greatest starting point ever. It helps me as a ghostwriter understand your voice, and we can get started with whatever you have. Another approach is the Journey Through Places approach. Now, this is the approach I use for my memoir about my mother's called Carol's Playlist. And she lived in one community since she was a young woman with children, and she lived in 5 different places. So I sort of take us on a journey as she lives in these 5 different places, and that's the structure of the memoirs. I talk about milestones, transitions, the atmosphere, and her memories that are in each of those 5 places. So that's an approach I took. The other is the unique gifts approach. Are you Are you creative? Are you compassionate? Have you helped charities? Or is your gift leadership or humor? So you can reflect on those gifts and the surrounding stories about how those gifts sort of manifested in your life and how you maybe pass them on. The hero's journey is an approach that is very popular in literature as well as screenwriting, and it just involves a hero, a protagonist, meeting a challenge, leaving home, so to speak, physically or internally, and embarking on a journey where they meet mentors who help them, and there's a lot of people who don't want them to continue the journey, and there's some danger, and finally they overcome obstacles, return home, so to speak, transformed. And so that hero's journey can be a section of your life, it could be your whole life, but memoirs are usually kind of a part of your life. But it's a great way to think about you in your life and helps you tell your story. The other is the excavation approach. It's kind of a reflective, layered memoir writing technique. So you might remember one or two things from your childhood that maybe you understand at the surface, but just have a feeling it goes deeper than that. It could be something about a family trait, and that trait seems to be passed on. But does it go back generations? That's just one example. But the excavation approach is thinking very critically and deliberately about your life, and then the stories sort of come from that. The other is a theme approach, organizing your memoir around something that you love: music, food, nature, family traditions. I have a couple ideas for subsequent books that will take the theme approach, such as food and music is really a theme that runs through my family. So those are approaches I might take, but you can think of themes that kind of trickle through the generations and take that approach to tell your story. A legacy letter approach, that's a wonderful approach if you have grandchildren or haven't met your great-grandchildren, but you want them to know about you. I think of my husband's great-grandmother, and she lived till she was, or grandmother, she lived till she was maybe 104. And she was born before automobiles. And she took her first airplane ride when she was 91 years old. And so she had thought to write letters to her grandchildren or great-grandchildren. It would give a wonderful snapshot of the culture and the environment of the time, just in her everyday life. Photo book, of course, you can have a lot of photos that will spark memories. They could be thematic, such as family reunions or special points in time. It could be a childhood home. So those ideas for your memoir could be sparked from photos. So crafting your legacy memoir, your approach is to telling your story. So I gave you some ideas, but your idea for your memoir will just come out as we sit down and start talking about what it is you really want to say and how you want to say it and who you want to say it to. So my first book that will be published this month and printed, and I can start distributing it next month, is called Carol's Playlist. And it's a deeply personal memoir about my journey with my mother during her Alzheimer's. And a lot of times, living with somebody and helping somebody through this stage of life is very difficult, but oftentimes there's also conflict that arises, maybe from childhood or relationship, that also needs work to come to terms with as this person, this loved one, descends into dementia. And so I think that's very realistic. I think it happens to a lot of people. And that's why I wrote the book, to inspire other people to write that book. I think it's really a beautiful idea for people to tell their story, maybe in early stages of dementia with family members. And I was happy to write this memoir. So I want to tell you a little bit about the Our Legacy book series. Now, as I said, when I help my clients, there's so many ways they can publish. There's traditional publishing, which not many people really do. new authors especially. There's hybrid publishing if you're interested in trying to get your longer book on bookshelves, and there's self-publishing. And this sort of falls into the self-publishing category a little bit. But when you publish a book, when you write a book, every author has to go through after they complete their second draft, they have to go through editing. Every author goes through different levels of editing to polish up their manuscript. You need a cover design, you need an ISBN number, you need the back cover. There's just things that you need to do. And so I can help people find those individuals who can help them with that. But I love this Our Legacy vision because it helps everyday people like you and me tell stories for whatever reason we want, whatever legacy we want. So I'm very thrilled with that. As I said, it offers a way to preserve your family. And by leveraging this brand focus service, we write the memoir and then we turn it over to two very accomplished ghostwriters and publishers who will take it from there. And you end up getting a complimentary 50 copies of your book to distribute, delivered to your door. And I probably wouldn't recommend them unless I've gone through the process myself, which I have. And it was just really, really wonderful. And so I can highly recommend this platform. So our collaboration, when I help you write in your voice, we go through a collaboration, who your audience is, what you want them to gain from your book, what do you want to gain from your book? And then once we establish that, we develop a high-level outline, and then we create bullet points in each of your outline points that's very detailed, and this will be the construct of your book. And once we have that in place, then basically you talk to me. We interview, either on Zoom or over the phone, face to face, and I conduct maybe 15, 20 hours of interviews, asking you questions about these points that you want to talk about and asking you to expand on your stories. Then we have a first draft. That's an ugly draft. You don't expect, that's not the one that's going to be published, but it's the one you want to check to make sure you have your flow, to make sure you have all the stories, to make sure your stories are deep enough and they say what you really want to say. If you have other people contributing to your memoir, that's when we want to kind of detail that out, make sure we capture their voices correctly. With Our Legacy brand, you get 20 pictures included, so we want to make sure the pictures are well placed. And this is when you might want to send it out to your family and friends to get feedback after the first draft. And then we create a second draft, which is getting publication ready. So you no longer want feedback. We just want to polish things up and go through our own editing together. And then we're done with that part of it. I turn it over to my two colleagues who do the proofreading, the editing, the cover design, and everything I explained. I'll go into more detail about that. And then your book is the final product is delivered 4 to 6 weeks after you've given your okay and looked at the final version and all that. And you get 50 copies. And should you be in a situation where you want more than that, they do offer a reduced cost for ordering more copies. But for this, you get 50 copies free delivered to you. So the book package is that I work with you for many hours and we work and we write a manuscript. And then the back end, and that's $4,000. The back end, as I said, is $46.99. And it's the cover design, the layout, 20 pictures, proofreading, ebook creation. Your book is placed on Amazon if people want to download it. And if they do, you get paid whatever Amazon normally pays the authors, the final review and approval, and a complimentary 50 books sent to you. So the total is $86.99. And you might not know a lot about publishing, but I have many contacts in the publishing world, and that is a really, really great price for the ghostwriting, believe me, and for the back end, and saves you all that worry about trying to figure out all those line items yourself. So here are some examples. They have about 10 books now. Their vision is that this is going to be a worldwide phenomenon. And I think any platform that really believes that everybody has a story to tell, which I've always said, everybody has a story to tell and a legacy to leave. I think their vision is right on. They make it so easy for us. And you can be part of the community where they have their own website. And if somebody wants to search on, adventurers or, somebody who's had trouble with somebody who might have been an alcoholic in their family or whatever it is, then these books of everyday people pop up and give you inspiration. I've read maybe about 5 of them, and they're all just wonderful. So a few examples are The Life of J.L. Fanning. And he was a long lost adventurer relative that somebody wanted to write about. Life Goes On for Toby Ingle. I love this because it's a mother and daughter preserving memories as the mother descends to dementia. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful reason to write a memoir. Memoirs of travels and adventures. I have one like this too, The Adventures and Travels of Ernest F. Schwartz, that sat on their bookshelf for 25 years, and they're dusting it off and formatting it and putting it out into the public. And just as I was talking about the memoir about my great-grandfather, I would love to do that. I just wrote Carol's Playlist, and then there's another one I read, MV Good Samaritan, and this book has everything in it. Ministry, it's a travel book, it's a veteran book, it has lots of stories that include other people. So those are just some examples of what people write. And I think it's just great. So I would say, let's write your unique story. If you have interest, if you reach out to me, that's great. It doesn't mean that you've decided to write a book. I just love to talk to people about what their opportunities are. So I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you.